to all of us to respectfully let MPs know that there are many in their constituencies who value life and who are deeply concerned about the plight of this. But friends, members of Parliament, not only should we reach out to those considering abortions, we must also reach out to those who have had them. To be pro-life in its also means to be pro-women. We can't love the babies and forget about the mothers and the fathers and the families. As a society, we actually need to learn to value life again, to give these women the hope, care and support they need to weigh up all the available options so that they can make an informed decision about their future and that of their unborn child. Our health departments need to equip women with the necessary information. Providing anything less is medical negligence. We also empathise with women who find themselves in tragic and difficult circumstances. So we really need to be brave and start the process and conversation around adoption as well. Do you know, in a recent Queensland study, 43% of women were coerced or exposed to violence before undertaking an abortion? All of us here have a responsibility to take note of these statistics and to not do something, and we have to do something to practically serve those around us. Lives literally depend on it. Do you know what? We have a minute of silence, but I reckon we have a minute of singing songs. Yeah? Okay. So, for the next minute, instead of bowing our heads and being solemn, we're actually going to kick off with an Amazing Grace. And we're going to do that for the next minute. And afterwards, we're going to give a loud clap and a loud cheer. And then we'll carry on with the program. Okay, I'm not a good singer, but I'm going to count us in. Okay, 1, 2, 3. Big cheer! Woo!
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. So good to be here, and I'd just like to, for those who don't know me, I'm Peter Abetz. I'm the State Director of the Australian Christian Lobby. Just like to extend a very warm welcome to the Honourable Kate Doust and Margaret Quirk. Thank you for coming out for this rally, and also, of course, Nick Goyron. Okay, great. Give them a big clap. Thank you. Our next speaker is going to be Lisa Cosson. Lisa and Ron, if you'd like to come up. I've had the privilege of knowing Ron and Lisa since the early 1990s when they were part of my congregation in Willerton where I was pastor. When Lisa was pregnant with Emily, they got the bad news that something was really wrong. The baby is now a vibrant 20-something-year-old and absolutely loves life. And in fact, she would love to be here, but second best is we took a picture and blew it up, and so she's here in spirit with us. Thank you, Lisa and Ron, for coming today, and thank you for sharing your story with us. Thank you.
Really loud. I'll try. Good evening, everyone. My name is is Lisa Cosson and this is my husband Ron. We have been married for 38 years this November. We have 4 children and 6, soon 7, beautiful grandchildren. But tonight is not about us. Out of all my 4 adult children, only the youngest one still lives at home with Mum and Dad. She's 27 years old. She has a fabulous life with many interests and loves. Some of those are dancing, music, cooking, hanging out with girlfriends, going to the movies. She adores her family, but her nieces and nephews are most definitely her favourites. She does not like cleaning or washing or ironing, but like all of us, she sucks it up and does it anyway. She has her own sponsor child in the Philippines. She's a member of our local church. She loves spending one-on-one time with another young woman from our church, reading the Bible together, thinking on God's word and what it means for her life, and praying together. You're out there somewhere, Sam. Thank you. Emily works at Fiona Stanley Hospital and she's been there for 8 years. She's a domestic assistant and she loves her job. She currently has a house being built and is hoping to move in to live independently this coming January. This is our Emily, and she is one of the best people you could ever meet. She actually would have loved to be here tonight speaking to all of you herself, but she got a better gig than I did, and she's on a tour through Tasmania with her friend and support worker. She loves travel, and she's excited to finally be able to do that with a friend, not just Mum and Dad. If you asked Emily if she had a good life, you would get a resounding yes. She would tell you that her life is awesome. If you asked her if she thought her life was purposeful and if she believed that she had a positive contribution to society, she would be shocked and probably quite annoyed that anybody would think she doesn't. She would most likely then give you one of her famous eye rolls and shake her head. Ron and I received a diagnosis of a disability when I was 17 weeks pregnant with Emily. It was devastating and scary. We wondered what having a family member with a disability was going to look like for us and for our other children. We were anxious, we cried a lot, and we prayed a lot. I want to point out at this moment that the diagnosis was not Down syndrome. It was hydrocephalus, which is fluid on the brain. Really not a good prognosis. That's a whole other story that I don't have time to tell tonight. But it would not have mattered what kind of disability our child had. Because as frightened and shocked as we were, we knew right from the start we would not be responsible for taking the life of this child. But what was really hard about it was that the diagnosis was so quickly followed up with an offer of termination. Every appointment and scan from that time on, the offer came again and again and again. Being told over and over by doctors, obstetricians and other specialists that her life would be terrible, that our lives would become terrible, and that our child's siblings would have parents who would not have time for them. And then having a confronting appointment with our GP, who after feeling he had made his perspective very clear to us about how terrible our lives were about to become, asked me again, "Do you want this problem to go away?" I told him that I was scared, but I believed in God, and I believed that only God can choose to take away life. He questioned me again. This is your choice? And I said yes. And he stared me straight in the eye and loudly and angrily told me that I was a stupid woman. All right.
Praise the Lord.
Getting that kind of news is really frightening, and you're very emotionally vulnerable. You put your trust in the medical specialist that you're seeing at the time, and you need gentle support and understanding and respect for the decisions and the choices that you're making at that time. Thinking back on going through that, the constant suggesting, pushing, and in the end outright bullying to abort, I still get a knot in my stomach, and sometimes I actually physically shake from the trauma that it caused me. As I sat at home writing this a couple of weeks ago, it happened to me again. That was 28 years ago, it has not gone away. I don't want to see any other woman go through that. Like I said, it's a very scary and very vulnerable time. I believe she could be swayed to make a quick decision to terminate her pregnancy without proper support and without being informed more about Down syndrome or any other disability for that matter. She should be given opportunity to quietly reflect, gather information, and maybe even get a chance to talk to others who've gone through life with a child that has a disability. She should never be pushed, coerced, or bullied into a decision that one day in the future she could look back on and be filled with hurt, grief, regret and shame because she was pushed and not properly supported in that very difficult time. I've spoken to many mums who felt pressured to have abortions when given a diagnosis like we were. I am not going to stand here and tell you that Emily's life comes without challenges, but whose doesn't? I have 4 adult children. They have challenges. You and I have challenges. Does it mean that anyone who has challenges should be considered null and void of no worth? I say no. Emily's favourite Bible passage is Psalm 139. I praise you, for I am fearfully and wonderfully made. She had a poster of that hanging in her nursery before she was born. We wanted to make sure that growing up she knew that God made her exactly the way He wanted her to be. She was His precious daughter, made in His own image. Over the last few weeks, Emily has heard a lot of conversation about this rally and that I would be speaking here. She gave us permission to hold up the placard of her at work with her beautiful face on it. She's been gathering and processing the information. The other night she asked us about it. We reminded her that over time we've explained to her that some people think babies with disabilities should not be born. We've done that really carefully and gently over the years. But it was the first time we felt it was right to tell her the whole truth about what abortion is and that some people wanted to abort her. We decided to let her hear my speech, and we had an incredible conversation about it afterwards. She was so sad to think that anybody should think that she should not be born. We explained to her that it's because they didn't know God and they didn't know that every single person is precious to Him. A lot more conversation happened after that, and she understood. And then she said, and you have to love the feistiness of our daughter. She said, I'll be in Tasmania, but I wish I could be there too so I could give them a piece of my mind. could take a video and show it to you all, but I had to explain there was no such technology available, so. We did, however, tell her that there's a Rally for Life every year and that the organisers would very much welcome her anytime to come say her piece. I said to Emily, it must be very hurtful that somebody thought you should never be born, and she said it was. She also said, it must have hurt you, Mum, when that doctor told you you were a stupid woman, because even in that confronting moment, thinking somebody thought she should not be born, she, as the beautiful soul that she is, was thinking about her mum. I liked the moment, and I told her that it did not bother me if he thought I was stupid, because at the time I thought he was more stupid. Sorry, I'm human. She said she can't wait to speak at a rally one day because, in her own words, Down syndrome is a part of me and it's really the best thing that ever happened to me. Can I finish with a prayer that was written by another mother with a child with Down syndrome? In her words, seeing her child through God's eyes. God, you shaped me inside and out. You knitted me together in my mother's womb, long before I took my first breath. I will offer you my grateful heart, for I am your unique creation, filled with wonder and awe. You have approached even the smallest details with excellence. Your works are wonderful. I carry this knowledge deep within my soul. You see all things. Nothing about me was hidden from you as I took shape in secret, carefully crafted in the heart of the earth before I was born from its womb. You see all things. You saw me growing, changing in my mother's womb. Every detail of my life was already written in your book. You established the length of my life before I ever tasted the sweetness of it. Amen.
Thank you, Lisa, and thank you for your daughter Emily sharing your story with us. It's so powerful to hear how God cares of us, regardless of our conditions, regardless of our challenges. God places the lonely in families and gives us life. So we're going to sing a song together called "Wonderfully Made" in a little while. And during this mesmerising song, I call upon our volunteers to give around a bucket that has a QR code on it as well that points you to the e-petition that we're launching tonight. It has been launched for the last couple of weeks, but please sign this petition. You can scan the QR code on the side of the bucket. Now, we at the Coalition for Defence of Human Life, we represent lots of pro-life organisations. I'm from Family Voice Australia, people from ACL and NCC and AFA and all these other organisations, and Right to Life. All of us contribute to the work of this rally every year, but we want to ask you if you can please give to support the work of this rally. And also later in this year, we'll also do a gathering together called Families for Life Expo. And this is going to be also another big expense to put on, to gather you together as pro-family groups to share about how we're life in our families together. I'll tell you more about that in a bit. So please have a look at these buckets now. I invite Tasari and her team to come and sing with us. Thank you.